Happy Monday. It is Made New Monday. I am Coach V. Thank you so much for joining me for another Made New Monday. And so, on each episode of Made New Monday, we talk about the podcast for the week. And so, this week's podcast episode is entitled, What You Don't Process, You Stay Stuck In. And so, we have heard the words stagnant and staying stuck. We've heard them for quite a while. But how much time have you really spent evaluating areas that you may be stuck in or areas that you may be stagnant in? How much time and effort have you spent really looking into those things? Um, if you take a moment to just reevaluate the things that have gone on in your life and you seem to kind of just be, I always like to say, being on the hamster's wheel. You're just going round and round and round. There's something that has you stuck. There's some type of blockage. There's something that you have not dealt with. And even though you may really be progressing and finding success in certain areas of your life, there's something that you may feel like is still missing. There's something that's off or something that may not quite be right. And so, a lot of times, what I have found with myself in a desire to move forward and progress, it's because I'm stuck on something. I haven't properly processed something from my past that is kind of a sticking point. You know, it's like having that gum on the bottom of your shoe. I haven't really properly processed it to really move forward and have peace with it. And even though we recognize and accept that our past is our past. We don't hold anything from our past, and we don't let our past impact our future. There are sometimes things that we need to go back and just reflect on how this thing affected us. And is it something that may be blocking us from moving forward and truly having peace? And so I did this week's podcast episode on this because I think it's very important to process certain things, have an understanding about some things, and so that we can truly move forward and not let that be something that's just kind of hanging over our head like this dark cloud. Because a lot of times we tend to ignore those things. We tend to overlook those things and think that they have no impact, that they have no bearing on what we're doing in the future. And so, if we think about it, like we can look at a lot of celebrities and we think about all the fame and fortune, all the attention and notoriety they may have, but yet there's something that's still missing in their life, and that can oftentimes lead them to drug abuse, alcoholism, or whatever, the addiction or the vice may be. It's the same thing for us. If we overeat, if we, indulge in social media all the time, or we stay stuck on watching something on reality TV, it's to get away from the reality of our own life. It's because we're not dealing with something that has caused us a lot of pain and hurt. And even though we're doing all of these great things, we're trying to fill that void with all of this stuff. And so we have to take a moment to process that so that we can get ourselves unstuck. And so the transformative thought for this episode of the podcast is, I accept responsibility for being stuck and getting myself unstuck. Now, that's a big loaded statement, but we have to just take a deep breath and just say it. I accept responsibility for being stuck and getting myself unstuck, because you're the one that can do it. With the help of God, you can get yourself unstuck. And here's the thing. A lot of times the things that cause us to be stagnant and stuck are the things that we oftentimes don't look at. It's the unforgiveness. It's the holding grudges. It's the bitterness. It's the anger. It's the resentment that we may have towards a person, somebody that's hurt us or betrayed us. Oftentimes, that little small thing, that little stone in our heart is the very thing that causes us to be stuck and stagnant. So we can't really enjoy or appreciate where we are at a certain place in our life or this time in our life, because we still have that little root. We still have that bitter root, and we haven't resolved it. We haven't made the decision to kill it. We haven't made a decision to chop it off. We keep it. We hold on to it. And so those things that we hold on to, we can't God can't get anything new to us. We can't enjoy the new things that come to us. We're not even in a position to receive anything new because we're still holding on to that thing. And even though we may think it's really small, and we really feel justified because we have been telling ourselves that same story for years. So we feel justified in still being angry. We feel justified in still feeling hurt about that thing. We are justified in our actions and our behaviors towards that other person. And what we have to understand is we're not hurting that person. That person has moved on with their life. That person is not thinking about what happened, how it affected us, none of that. But yet we're still holding on to it, and it's causing us to not truly flourish and grow in the way that God desires us to flourish and grow, because we're still holding on to that. So guess what? We're the ones that are holding ourselves back because we're still holding on to that. And so I hope that on today, as you listen to this podcast, that you will really evaluate those things and journal. I always say in every episode that I hope that you have a journal and a pen so that you can write down the transformative truths, you can write down the transformative thoughts, and you can really take some time to reflect on these things, that you can take some time to meditate on these things and even journal your feelings about it. What is that thing that you're still holding on to, and how is it affecting your life? And then how is it affecting the lives of the people that are attached to you, that are connected to you? How is it affecting your relationships? How is it affecting your marriage? How is it affecting your children and their future? We have to make the decision that whatever it is that has had a hold on our family for generations, that we're going to be the blessing to the generation, that we're not going to continue to contribute to the curse. And so it starts with us getting ourselves unstuck, accepting and acknowledging the fact that we are stuck, that we're in this place, that we've lied to ourselves long enough, and that we have to stand up and tell the truth, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how painful, no matter how much somebody doesn't like it or doesn't agree with it, because this is your life. This is the life that God gave you. And so we have to live this life in truth, live it in freedom, and live it in peace. And so I hope that you will take time to really reflect on what is that thing or things that are causing you to be stagnant, that are causing you to be in a place that you desire to do more things, but because of that hurt, because of that thing that you're still holding on to, you just can't move forward. And I always love to say what my pastor says, what you're willing to let leave your hands determines what God brings to you. And it is so true. By letting those things go, your hands are open at that point. So God can bring so many great things to you. Last week, we talked about love. And so being able to allow yourself to be loved, receiving love, means you're able to give love. And so when you're able to let go of that hurt and that anger, that stuff that's causing you to be stuck, you're able to receive. Now you formed a habit of being able to properly process things and be able to move forward in your purpose, in the things of God, the things that God has called you to do. And then you have great impact and influence over other people because you can show them what it is to go through the process. That's the beautiful thing. You then become the example, you become the model. You have now created the blueprint on how to go through these things and live a life that's fulfilled. You can live a life of purpose. You can live an empowered and inspired life. And so listen to this week's podcast. You can find Transformative Talk on Spotify or Anchor. It's Transformative Talk with Coach V. And this week's episode is what you don't process, you stay stuck in. And take the time to really think about it. And I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what you think about the podcast, you can send me an email at madenewllc@yahoo.com, and stay connected with me on my Facebook page, Made New, LLC, and at I Am Made New on Instagram. Join me, share this video, leave comments. You've got to give StreamYard permission, of course, because I'd love to hear what you think. But thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of Made New Monday. Remember, today is a great day to be made new, and I am always, always rooting for you. I'll talk to you guys next week.